Hello students, let's start with chemistry. So let's see what we are going to learn in chemistry today. So the topic which we are taking up in this video is redox reaction. As we know that there are a lot of chemical reactions, or you can say a lot of chemical changes that are taking place in nature. So out of that, the redox reaction is also a kind of chemical change. So let's study that what actually is redox reaction and the other information related to it. So the topics which we'll be covering in this video are introduction of chemical reaction, types of chemical reaction, intro to redox reaction, concepts of oxidation and reduction, oxidizing and reducing agent, oxidation state and valency, types of redox reaction, and we'll also do application of redox reaction. So let's start with these topics. So the first thing which we'll start, that is an intro to chemical reaction. So what is chemical reaction? So the first thing is that chemical reaction is a chemical change. Chemical reaction is a chemical change. So what do you mean by chemical change? We know that chemical change is a process in which the new substance is formed. It involves the energy changes, that is, the energy is either absorbed or given out, right? So that means energy changes are evolved. In this, the change is permanent in nature. That means we cannot reverse the change. So therefore, it is permanent, or we can call it as irreversible change. So it is an irreversible change. So this is what is a chemical reaction. So first thing is that chemical reaction involve all these things, that is the new substances formed, energy changes take place, the changes are permanent, or you can say chemical reaction permanently take place, and it is irreversible also. So let's take up example related to these things. So first thing we have done that in it the new substances formed. So let's look at this figure. What you can make out in this figure, that we have a certain chemical in this flask and we have a certain chemical in this flask. And what you can see is that this chemical is being poured into this flask, and these two chemicals are reacting with each other. And how you come to know that they are reacting? Because initially there was no this yellow substance seen, but when they are mixed, this kind of yellow substance is seen, which indicates that these two chemicals are reacting with each other, and that is the reason this insoluble substance is formed. So that shows that in a chemical reaction, the new substance is always formed. Another thing we can take, or you can say the general reaction, let's say I'm reacting few substances, and when they react, they form a new substance. So that means in any reaction, the new substance is always formed. The second thing is that the chemical reaction involves energy changes. For example, if I have certain fuel and I am burning it, so when I'll burn this fuel, I'll get carbon dioxide, water vapor, and I'll get the energy. That is, the energy is released. And this energy is in the form of heat and light. So that means there are the reactions which involve the release of energy. Likewise, there are few reactions where the energy is absorbed. For example, if I have a compound, let's say calcium carbonate, I have to provide it heat in order to break it, and when I'll heat it, it will break into its constituents. So that means in this step, the heat is being absorbed. So that means energy changes do take place. Either it is released or it is absorbed. Another thing is that the change is permanent and irreversible. Let's take an example again. For example, if I say I have a paper, and what I'm doing it, I'm burning it with the help of burner. So what happened? It starts burning, and finally this paper gets converted into ash. So now, is it possible to convert this ash back into paper? No, it's not possible. So that means this is a chemical reaction. Though we get the new substance, we involve the energy changes as well in this, but this change is permanent and irreversible. It cannot be converted back into paper. Similarly, in this figure, you get to see that when we mixed these two liquids, this yellow substance is formed. So there is no other process by which we can actually remove this yellow substance. So that means this substance, or you can say this indicates that chemical reaction is irreversible in nature. So I think you got it, that chemical reaction involve all these characteristics. Let's take another example. In this case, what we are doing is we have calcium oxide. We have calcium oxide. So calcium oxide formula is CaO. Calcium oxide formula is CaO, which is usually called as with a common name, that is lime. And you know that when we add lime to water or water to lime, what happens that they both combine with each other and they form a new substance that is called as calcium hydroxide, which is further called as lime water. Right. So that means when we are mixing these things, a new substance that is lime water is formed. And in this also the energy involvement is there. Like when you're mixing lime with water, you get a sound of hiss. And this sound actually indicates that the energy is released. Energy is released. That is the reason when you mix lime with water, what happens? The energy is released, and for a timing, the solution starts boiling also. So the heat released is such enormous that it makes the lime boil. And what product do you get? We get lime water. And this lime water can be further used to carry out different processes. Like lime water can be used for the testing of carbon dioxide. So like if you want to test that whether a certain chemical reaction is evolving CO2 or not, you can make use of this lime water. So when you'll pass the CO2 to this lime water, it will turn lime water milky due to formation of calcium carbonate. So likewise, there are certain processes where you can use the lime water. So this also indicates that chemical reaction do take place, and the characteristics which we studied earlier, that is the new substance formation, energy changes, and this thing, what you did, the irreversible, permanent change. So this all is taking place. So we can define the chemical reaction now. So chemical reaction is a process when two or more substances, they react, and due to their reaction, some new substances formed. So it is called as chemical reaction. So chemical reaction is a process in which you add substance and you get a new substance. So it's not only that A and B react to form AB, it can be like this, that A plus BC forms AC plus B. So reaction can be of any order. It can even be AB breaks to form AB. All are chemical reactions, and it is not just confined to these equations. It can be anything. So chemical reaction do take place in nature. Now, every chemical reaction involves reactants and product. For example, I told you, like if I say I have a reactant, I am supplying it with heat and it finally breaks into A and B. So that means in this there was some previous substance which gave rise to new substances. So this previous substance is called as reactants. So because it is starting the reaction. So it is called as reactants, or we can define them as they are the substances that participate in reaction. And without them, the reaction is not possible. So reactants are always compulsory. And similarly, they undergo a certain change, whether they are reacting or they are breaking. So they undergo a certain process or a change, and finally they form the new substance. And that new substance is called as product. So the new substance that are formed, they are called as product. So in this reaction, AB refers to reactant, and A is also a product, B is also a another product. So every reaction will make use of reactants and product. Let's take another example. For example, if I have CaCO3, I'm heating it, and as a result, it is forming CaO and CO2. In this calcium carbonate is reactant and these are products. So that means every chemical reaction can make use of reactants and products. Now let's do types of chemical reaction. So there are different types of chemical reaction. So let's sum up. So the first chemical reaction which we are going to study is the combination reaction. It is the combination reaction. The other reaction is decomposition reaction, right? The another reaction type is displacement reaction. That is displacement reaction. The another type is double displacement, or we can also call it as double decomposition reaction. And the last type which we are going to do is the redox reaction. So that means this chapter is redox reaction. This is what we are going to study in detail, but let us look on the different types of chemical reaction also. Then only we can make out that what is the difference that is exhibited by the redox reaction as compared with the other types. So let's start with combination reaction first. So in combination reaction, what happens in it? Two or more substances, that means reactants can be as many, right? But minimum 2 reactants are required. I'll write here, minimum 2 reactants should be there. They react, but the product form is always single. They always form single product. So this is combination. When 2 or more substances react to form a single product. So reactants can be as many, but minimum requirement is of 2, but the product is going to be single. For example, if I have C plus O2, it forms CO2. So in this we have 2 reactants, but the product formed is only 1. Likewise, we have the another type, that is decomposition. That is decomposition reaction. Decomposition reaction is a reaction in which the reactant is going to be 1. The reactant in this is always going to be 1. It cannot be more than 1. It undergoes a certain change, or you can say the specific conditions are provided due to which it breaks into its constituents. So product can be more than 2 or more than 2. So this is, you can say, required that the product must be 2 or more than this. So that reaction is called as decomposition. Now the question is how this reactant breaks up. It can break up by supplying it with heat. It can break up in the presence of light, or it can break up by passing electric current. So 3 special conditions can be used in order to break this one reactant into 2 or more products. And accordingly, the decomposition is termed as thermal decomposition, and if the light is being used, it is called as photo decomposition, and if current is used, it is called as electrolytic decomposition. So decomposition is actually opposite to combination. As you can see that in combination we have 2 or more reactants, but in decomposition we have 2 or more products. In this case, product is going to be always single, and in decomposition, reactant is always going to be a single. So decomposition is just reverse of the combination reaction. Let's take up the example. Let's take an example for thermal decomposition. Let's say we have mercurous oxide. What we are doing, we are supplying it with heat and it breaks up into Hg plus O2. Similarly, let's take up the photo decomposition. Let's say we have silver chloride. When we expose it to light, right, it is initially white in color, but when we expose it to light, it becomes gray in color due to formation of this Ag. So this is an example of photo decomposition. Likewise, we have electrolytic decomposition. For example, if I have an aqueous solution of sodium chloride, I am supplying it with current, and what happens? It finally breaks up into its constituents, that is Na plus Cl2. So I think you got it, that what is decomposition reaction. The another type is the displacement reaction. The another type is the displacement reaction. This is a reaction which occurs between the element and a compound. So this is the compulsory condition that we have to use one element and we have to use one compound. And what will they will do? They will actually, like, this element should be more reactive and the element in a compound should be less reactive. Then this more reactive is going to displace this less reactive, and as a result we get product. For example, if I say I have an element, let's say the element is A, and I have a compound, let's say BC. If A and B are of same kind of ions, let's say they are cations. So what will happen? These similar cations will exchange their places, but it is possible only if this ion in elemental state is more reactive than this ion in the compound state. Then what will happen? This A will replace B, and as a result, now A will be an element of compound and B will be liberated as in the elemental state. So I think you got it. So this is what is the displacement reaction. So it is compulsory that it has to be between element and a compound, and there has to be displacement. Now the displacement will occur or not, it will be you can say that it will depend on their reactivity, and that can be considered from reactivity series. We have a series in which we have elements arranged in order of their reactivities, that is most reactive on top and least reactive at bottom. So you can make use of this series to make out that which element is much reactive or more reactive and which is less reactive, and accordingly you can decide that which reaction is feasible and or which reaction is not feasible. So I think you got it. Let's take an example. If I say I have Zn plus CuSO4. So these two are cations. Let's write their valencies. The valencies can be different also, right? It can be 2 positive, it can be 3 positive, anything. And this is the anion. So in this, these two cations are going to exchange their place. But it is possible only if zinc is more reactive than the copper. And if we refer the reactivity series, we'll come to know that this is more reactive, therefore the reaction is feasible. So zinc will displace copper and it will form zinc sulfate plus copper. But if in case you have a reaction in which the copper is supposed to displace zinc, then this is not possible, because according to reactivity series, copper is less reactive and zinc is more reactive. And for displacement to occur, the element which is present in the elemental state, or you can say the ion in the elemental state, should be more reactive than the element in the compound, or the same kind of ion which is present or which is a constituent of this compound. It has to be less reactive. Then only the reaction will take place. So this is what is displacement reaction. Now let's see the another, that is double displacement. Now, as the name suggests, the double displacement means in this the two displacements are going to take place. This reaction is always between two compounds, and what will happen? They will mutually exchange their anions, or you can say the cations, or you can say that they are going to mutually exchange their ions, whether it is anion or cation, and it will give rise to product. For example, if I have AB and I have another compound that is CD, let's write or make them as ion. This is positive, this is negative, this is positive and negative. So in this case, it is not compulsory that whether this is more reactive than this or this is more reactive than this. So this reaction doesn't depend upon reactivities. They'll mutually exchange their ion. That means this cation will now bond with this anion. So we'll get AD, and this cation will bond with this ion and we'll get CB. So they are mutually exchanging their ions. So this is what is double displacement. Whenever double displacement occur, either the precipitate is formed, that is the insoluble substances formed on mixing these compounds, or you can say that a neutral substance is formed, that is the substance which is neither acidic nor basic is formed. So either the precipitate is formed or the neutral substance is formed. So double displacement or double decomposition is always going to be either the precipitation reaction or a neutralization reaction. Let's take up the example for it also. For example, we have lead chloride and potassium iodide. And when we are mixing them, what we get, like if I'll write the valencies, so they will interchange their ions, and as a result, Pb will combine with I now, and it will form PbI2, and along with that we get KCl. So that means this is a precipitation reaction, because when we mix them, we get to see this insoluble substance formed, that is the precipitate is formed, which is left behind. Precipitation, or you can say a precipitate, is always represented by the downward arrow. It means it stays behind, and it is called as precipitation reaction. So I think you got it. Likewise, we can have another example in which I have two compounds, right? And when I'm mixing them, they are exchanging their ions. That means H combines with OH to form H2O, Na combined with Cl to form NaCl, and as a result, the neutral substance is formed. So this reaction refers to neutralization reaction. So this is what is double displacement or decomposition reaction. Now we have to start with another type, that is redox reaction. And as this chapter is concerned with the redox reaction, so we will from here start with only redox reaction, and we will complete all the you can say the statements or the processes which are concerned with the redox reaction. So we can define it as the redox reaction is a reaction in which oxidation and reduction both occur simultaneously. Now this is quite, you can say, a tough type of definition, because we are not familiar with oxidation and we are not familiar with reduction. But this is confirmed that it refers to a reaction in which both these processes are taking place together, that is simultaneously. So in order to study redox reaction in a proper manner, we should be familiar with these terms first. So let's study that what do we mean by oxidation and reduction, and then we'll move ahead with redox reaction. So now, in order to learn about redox reaction, I have told you that we have to be familiar with oxidation and reduction. As you can see that the name of the redox comprises of these two parts only. RED refers to reduction and OX refers to oxidation. So it is must that we should be familiar with these terms first. So we have two different concepts in order to explain oxidation and reduction. So these two concepts are classical concept and electronic concept. So let's take up the first concept, that is classical concept. According to classical concept, we can define oxidation as the addition of oxygen. We can define it as addition of oxygen. For example, if I say that I have a quantity, let's say A, and I am adding oxygen to it, and as a result it forms AO, or it forms A2O, or it forms AO2. So any of it can form. But if we compare the left and the right hand side, what we get to see that on left hand side, A was present in an individual form. But when it has combined with oxygen, it is being oxidized because the oxygen is added to it. So whether the formula is this or this, it doesn't matter. But ultimately the A gets attached with O. That means O is added up. So whenever you get to see these kind of reaction, that means the oxidation is taking place. Let's take proper example. If I say I have Mg and I'm reacting it with oxygen, so what do I get to see? I get to see that MgO is formed. That means to magnesium, the oxygen is being added. So this refers to oxidation. Similarly, if I have aluminium and I'm adding oxygen to it, what do I get? I get Al2O3. Again, oxygen is added to aluminium. So I can again say that this is oxidation taking place. So likewise, you can formulate different examples on the basis of addition of oxygen as oxidation. But it is not just limited to addition of oxygen. We can also define it as, according to classical concept, that removal of hydrogen is also called as oxidation. Removal of hydrogen is also called as oxidation. So let's take up the example. Let's say if I have a compound AH, so I'm providing it special condition, and under those special condition, what happened? A and H get separated. So if we compare left with right, we get to see that on left hand side, A was combined with H. But ultimately, due to certain special condition, the A and H got separated. That means H is being removed. And removal of H refers also to oxidation. So again, in this case, we can say that oxidation is taking place. Let's take a proper example. If I say I have sodium hydride, and I am supplying it with the heat or current, whatever you can say, like any special condition. So what happened? The Na and H2 gets separated. So H is being removed. So that means oxidation is taking place. So we can make out oxidation and reduction just depending upon that whether the oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed. So let me ask you one question. If I have a equation, or you can say a formula like MgH2, and the equation is Mg plus H2, and in the another part I have, let's say, Na plus H2, and it forms NaH. So out of these two, which refers to oxidation? So in this we can see that hydrogen is present initially and it is removed. And in this case we have seen that hydrogen is not present with Na, but in product hydrogen is added. So obviously this is going to be oxidation, because in this case hydrogen is added and hydrogen is released, not this in which the hydrogen is added, because removal of oxygen refers to oxidation according to classical concept. Similarly, if I have MgO undergoes a special, you can say a kind of process, either it is heated or anything, and we get to have Mg plus O2. And in the another reaction, what do I have? I have Mg to which O2 is added and we get MgO. So out of two, which is referred as oxidation? So in this case, oxygen is removed, and in this case, oxygen is added. Obviously, this second reaction refers to oxidation. So addition of oxygen and, or you can say the removal of hydrogen refers to oxidation. So I think it's clear. Now let's move with reduction. That according to classical concept, how we are going to define this reduction. Reduction refers to either the addition of hydrogen or it refers to removal of oxygen. We can say that it is just reverse to, or you can say the opposite to, an oxidation. So if we take this addition of hydrogen, so that means if I have a reaction in which hydrogen is added to, let's say, A, and we get AH, or we get AH2 or anything. So in this case, hydrogen is added. So that means this refers to reduction. So let's take an example. If I have sodium and I'm adding hydrogen to it and we get sodium hydride, so this is reduction. Sodium is getting reduced in this case because hydrogen is added. Similarly, we can take up in another, you can say, language, that is the removal of oxygen. So let's take MgO and let us supply it with heat or current, and what happened? The Mg and O gets separated. So that means O is removed, and removal of oxygen refers to reduction. Similarly, let's take another example. If I have HgO, I'm heating it, and again the oxygen and mercury gets separated. So addition of hydrogen or removal of oxygen refers to reduction. Let me ask you one question. I have two examples. Let's say in the first reaction, we can say that Mg plus H2 forms MgH2. And in another, I have just opposite to it, MgH2 give rise to Mg plus H2. So out of this, these two, which is regarded as reduction? We know that reduction is addition of hydrogen. So that means in this first one, hydrogen is being added. So this first one refers to reduction according to classical concept. In a similar manner, we know that, let's have two equations again. If I say I have Al2O3 and it is getting splitted to Al plus O2, right? So what will happen? in this. Let's take another example also. If I say I have aluminium, I'm combining it with oxygen and it is forming Al2O3. So out of these two, which you can think is the reduction. Reduction is removal of oxygen. So that means first one is the correct reaction, which represents the reduction according to classical concept, because in this oxygen is being removed. So I think you got it, that what is classical concept. So classical concept define oxidation as addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen, and reduction refers as addition of hydrogen or removal of oxygen. Let's do another concept, that is electronic concept. Now, what do we mean by electronic concept? See, there will be certain reactions in which like you'll not see oxygen and you won't see hydrogen there, and you could not make out that whether it is oxidation or reduction, because you're not able to see that there is some oxygen or hydrogen present in a compound. So according to classical concept, the presence of oxygen and hydrogen is compulsory. That is why we can, or you can say then only we can make out that whether the oxidation is taking place or reduction is taking place. But if in case we don't have oxygen and hydrogen, then how we are going to make out that the oxidation or the reduction or which out of two is taking place? So there we need the electronic concept. So I think you got that why we need the second concept in order to study oxidation and reduction. So let's start with it and see that how it defines oxidation and reduction. So let's start with oxidation. So oxidation refers to loss of electrons. Oxidation refers to loss of electrons. So that means whenever any substance is losing electron, it is said to be oxidized. For example, if I say I have a substance, it is losing certain number of electron, let's say it is losing 1 electron, and we know that after losing the substance form cations, right? So this reaction refers to oxidation. This reaction is referred as oxidation. Let's take up another example or a proper example. Let's say I have sodium. I know the atomic number is 11 and configuration is 281. We know that sodium has a tendency to lose 1 electron. So it will lose 1 electron, and after losing it will form sodium ion, that is cation, sodium cation. So losing this electron refers to as oxidation. So oxidation means losing electron. Another concept for reduction is, according to electronic concept, if any substance is gaining electrons, if any substance is gaining, or you can say it is accepting electrons, that substance is regarded as, you can say that substance is undergoing reduction, or you can say it is said to be reduced. For example, if I say, let's say a substance B, and it is somehow accepting few electrons, let's say 1 or 2 electrons. And we know that whenever a substance accepts electron, it forms the negatively charged ion, which is called as anion. So let's say this B anion is formed. So in this process, B is gaining electron. That is the reason it is forming the anion from an atom. So this process is called as reduction, or you can say that B is getting reduced in this reaction. Let's take up another example. Let's take chlorine. We know the atomic number for chlorine is 17 and configuration is 287. And in order to complete octet, it has to accept 1 electron. And after accepting, it becomes chloride ion, that is Cl negative, that is the complete octet. So in this, chlorine is getting reduced because it is accepting electrons. So I think you got it, that how you're going to define the reduction according to electronic concept. One thing I would like to share with you, as you all know that all metals, they have tendency to lose electrons. So they always get oxidized. They always show oxidation or they get oxidized. And if we talk about non-metals, they always have tendency to gain electrons. They are electron acceptors. So that means wherever they will be present, they will get reduced. That means they will show reduction. So for example, if I have a reaction between metal and non-metal, so whatever they are forming, let's say they are forming Mn. So that means this compound is formed when the metal has actually lose its valence electron and non-metal has gained those valence electrons. Because in a compound, metal will be positive and non-metal will be negatively charged. So metal is losing electron, it is said to be always oxidized. Non-metal is gaining, so it is always said to be reduced. So I think you got it, that what is electronic. Now let's learn the terms, that is oxidizing and reducing agent. Like now you know that what is oxidation and what is reduction. So now let's study that what do we mean by oxidizing agent and what do we mean by reducing agent. So if I talk about agent, what do you mean by agent? Obviously, agent refers to a person, or you can say anything which is actually making us do a certain activity. For example, if I say traveling agent, so that traveling agent refers to a person who make us travel or view or visit different places. So he is actually an agent, right? That is a mediator who is just helping us to do that. So similarly, we have oxidizing agent. So oxidizing agent, that means a substance which is oxidizing in nature. That means it is oxidizing the other. It has a tendency to oxidize other, like the traveling agent has a tendency to make us travel. So likewise, oxidizing agent has the ability to oxidize other, and in return, it is getting reduced. For example, if I consider this on the basis of classical concept is that in which the substance is so according to classical concept, we know that oxidation refers to addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen. It refers to either of two. For example, if I take that, let's say we have Mg plus O2 forms MgO. So addition of oxygen is taking place, and you know that Mg is getting oxidized. So who is oxidizing in agent in this case? Who is making magnesium oxidized? Obviously, oxygen is the oxidizing agent in it because it is oxidizing Mg. Let's take another example. According to electronic concept, we know that loss of electrons are referred to as oxidation and gain of electrons referred to as reduction. Let's take another example. Na plus Cl2 forms NaCl. In this, sodium has lost its one valence electron. As a result, it has now acquired a positive charge, and Cl has accepted that electron, so it has acquired negative charge. So that means sodium is losing electron, so that means this is oxidation, and chlorine is gaining electron, so that means it is undergoing reduction. So now the question is that what or which substance in this is regarded as oxidizing agent. So obviously which is making other oxidized is an oxidizing agent. So who is the one who is causing oxidation? So oxidation means loss of electrons, and who is losing that? Sodium. So that means sodium is getting oxidized. But who is making sodium oxidized? Obviously chlorine. Because if there will be chlorine, then only it is going to accept electron, and because of that sodium is going to lose electron. So in this, chlorine is making sodium oxidized. So and itself it is getting reduced because it is gaining those electrons. So here the chlorine refers to an oxidizing agent. So any substance which is undergoing reduction is said to be an oxidizing agent because it is making other oxidize and itself it is getting reduced. Now let's study reducing agent. Obviously an agent, that means a substance which is making other reduced and itself it is getting oxidized. So let's take up the classical concept. We know that according to classical concept, let's study reduction. It is addition of hydrogen, or it is said to be the removal of oxygen. Either of two can be used. For example, let's say I have sodium, and to the sodium hydrogen is getting added and it forms sodium hydride. So in this, the sodium is getting reduced because hydrogen is added to it. But who is making it reduced? Do you think the reduction of sodium is possible if there were no hydrogen present? No, it wasn't possible. So that means hydrogen is reducing agent in this case because it is helping sodium in reducing it. Likewise, if I have, let's say, if we take an example of oxidation, we know that according to classical concept, addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen refers to oxidation. So let's say if I have NaH and it is getting splitted into Na plus H2. So in this case, what we get to see that hydrogen is removed. Hydrogen is removed. So this refers to oxidation. This refers to oxidation. And a substance which is getting oxidized, it is termed as reducing agent. And the substance which undergoes reduction, that is said to be an oxidizing agent. Let's take up according to electronic concept. Let's say if I have Mg plus Cl2, they both are combining and it is forming MgCl2. So in this case, Mg is present as 2 positive and Cl is present as Cl negative. So Mg is getting oxidized because it is losing electron. Cl is getting reduced because it is accepting. So the one that undergoes oxidation is termed as reducing agent because it is undergoing oxidation because it is oxidizing itself but making the other substance gets reduced. So it is reducing agent. And in this case, Cl is undergoing reduction and making the Mg gets oxidized. So that means it is an oxidizing agent. So accordingly, or you can say depending upon the chemical reaction which is present, that whether it is representing the loss or gain of electrons or it is representing the addition or removal of hydrogen, you can make out the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. So now, redox reaction, because now we are familiar with oxidation, we are familiar with reduction according to both the concepts, that is classical concept also and according to electronic concept also. Now let's do the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. So redox reaction refers to a reaction in which oxidation and reduction both occur simultaneously. Both occur together, that is simultaneously. One thing you have to keep in mind that oxidation and reduction, they both go hand in hand. They both go hand in hand. That is, the reduction is not possible without oxidation and oxidation is not possible without reduction. So that means in all the reactions where you get to see oxidation, then the reduction is also taking place at the same time. So that is the reason the reaction which involves oxidation and reduction both occurring simultaneously referred to as the redox reaction. Let's take an example. Let's say if I have Cu and I'm adding water to it and they both react and as a result we get CuO and hydrogen gas. So if we see that what the changes we are actually get when we compare the left and the right hand side, we see that on the left hand side we have copper, but on the right hand side oxygen is added to copper. Similarly, on the left hand side we have oxygen attached with water, but if we compare it with right, the oxygen is removed from hydrogen. So that means in this the oxygen is added to copper and addition of copper is oxidation. And in this case, oxygen is removed from hydrogen. That means it is reduction. Right. So that means this is regarded as redox reaction because in this we get to see oxidation and reduction both occurring simultaneously. And we know that the substance which undergo oxidation is termed as reducing agent and the substance which undergo reduction is termed as oxidizing agent. So in this case, copper is reducing agent and hydrogen is the oxidizing agent. So I think you got it, that how you're going to make out the oxidation reduction and how you'll identify the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. Let's take another example. Let's say we have Mg plus Cl2 forming MgCl2. So now this can be explained on the basis of electronic concept. So as you saw that in this Mg is becoming Mg2 positive and Cl is becoming Cl negative. Now Mg is losing electron, that means it is undergoing oxidation. Cl is gaining electron, so it is undergoing reduction. And the substance which get oxidized is termed as the reducing agent. So Mg is a reducing agent in this reaction, and the substance which undergoes reduction is oxidizing agent. So Cl is the oxidizing agent in this reaction. So likewise, you can actually predict the oxidation reduction, and you can differentiate the redox reaction, and you can also write the oxidizing and the reducing agent. Let's do few more examples. The common example which you get to see of redox reaction in daily routine, that is corrosion. What do you mean by corrosion? Corrosion is actually the eating away of metal article. It is the eating away of metal article. And in case of iron, when it gets eaten up, that process is called as rusting. For iron, we have a special name, that is rusting. Because when it gets eaten up, the layer, a brown color layer is formed on it, that refers to rust. So what actually happens in this phenomena? There is an iron article. When it comes in contact with moist air, that is the air with moisture as well as oxygen, it will form Fe2O3. So in this case, iron is getting oxidized and oxygen is getting reduced. So this refers to the redox reaction. And likewise, we can make that this is reducing agent and oxygen is oxidizing agent. So corrosion is an example of redox reaction. Let's take another example, that is rancidity. You have often seen that if you cook something and like the summers are going and you keep that thing outside, or you just forget to keep it in refrigerator, then what happens? Then the food becomes, that food item becomes stale. That is, it starts smelling bad. It starts smelling bad, and also now its taste alters. That is, it start tasting bad. It start tasting bad, and it is not fit for eating now because it becomes stale. This rancidity refers to the oxidation of food. When the food is kept at room temperature for a longer period, it combines with oxygen present in air, and as a result, the food item becomes stale because it gets oxidized. So again, it refers to oxidation and the reduction, and similarly we can make out the reducing agent and the oxidizing agent. So this refers to rancidity. So rancidity is also a common example of redox reaction which you get to see in daily life. Now let's do question and answers. First question is that we need to define oxidizing agent and reducing agent. So oxidizing agent refers to a substance that oxidizes other, and itself it gets reduced. So that is the oxidizing agent. And what is reducing agent? Reducing agent refers to a substance that reduces other substance and itself it gets oxidized. So this is what is oxidizing and reducing agent. Next question we have is, we need to identify the oxidant and the reductant. So oxidant is the oxidizing agent and reductant is the reducing agent. So let's see. So in this case, to zinc, oxygen is being added. That means zinc is getting oxidized. So here it is termed as reductant, that it is referred to as reducing agent. In this case, hydrogen is added. You can say that the zinc is losing electron, right? And hydrogen is gaining electron. So zinc is losing electron and hydrogen is gaining electron. So here we are going to decide the oxidant and the reductant on the basis of electronic concept. So as we saw that zinc is losing electron, so that means it is undergoing oxidation, and oxidation refers to that zinc is reducing agent in this case, and hydrogen is gaining, that means it is undergoing reduction, and here it is referred to as oxidant, that it is acting as a oxidizing agent. So in the first case, zinc is reducing and oxygen is oxidizing agent, and in the second case, zinc is reducing agent and hydrogen is an oxidant, that is, it is an oxidizing agent. Another question is, we need to explain that in given reaction, which substance is oxidized and which is reduced. So let's see the reaction. In this case, on left hand side we have MnO2 and Al, and on right hand side we have Mn and Al2O3. So let's compare the left and the right side elements. So this is MnO2, that means oxygen is attached with Mn. But if we compare on the right hand side, Mn is getting, you can say, separated from oxygen. So separation of oxygen or removal of oxygen refers to reduction. So that means Mn is getting reduced. Let's write Mn is getting reduced. And on the left hand side we have aluminium, but if we compare with the right, oxygen is getting added to it. So that means aluminium is undergoing oxidation, because oxidation refers to addition of oxygen. So aluminium is getting oxidized in this case. So the correct answer is Mn is undergoing reduction and aluminium is undergoing oxidation. Another question is, we need to identify the redox reaction. So let's take the first reaction. In this, you can make out that this a kind of displacement reaction. It's a displacement reaction. And in this case, you can see that zinc is getting changed to Zn2 positive. So that means it is losing electron. And Pb2 positive is getting changed to Pb because it is accepting its electron back. That is why it is converting from the cationic state to the elemental state. So in this, zinc is getting oxidized and Pb is getting reduced. So it is in oxidation and the reduction that is taking place. That means it is a redox reaction. And so that means displacement reactions are also redox reaction. The another, in this, Zn is being converted to Zn2 positive. That means undergoing oxidation. And H positive is getting converted to H2. That is, it is accepting electron. So it is undergoing reduction. So that means again, it is a redox reaction, and we can make out simply on the basis of electronic concept. Now in this case, Mg is 2 positive and it is changed to Mg. That means it is gaining its electron back. So that means it is undergoing reduction, and Cl2 is here as negative and it is becoming Cl. That means it is giving its taken electron back. That means it is losing electron. So it is undergoing oxidation. So again, on the basis of electronic concept, it can be explained that this is a redox reaction. In the next one, aluminium is in elemental state but converting into Al3 positive, that is losing electrons, that is undergoing oxidation. Ag positive is becoming back to Ag, that is cation back to Ag by accepting electrons, that means undergoing reduction. Again, it can be explained that it is a redox reaction and on the basis of electronic concept. Another question we have is, which case from the following represents reduction? We know that reduction refers to either the removal of oxygen or the addition of hydrogen, or it is referred to as the gain of electron, that is gaining electron. So let's find out which out of them is undergoing any of it phenomena. So here Sn4 positive is getting converted into Sn2 positive. That means it is accepting its electron back. That means it is gaining electron, and gaining electron is reduction. So that means the first represents reduction. In other, it is 2 positive and it is becoming element. That means earlier it has lost its electron. That is why it has became 2 positive. Now it's gaining its electron back, and gaining electron referred to as reduction. So that means this is also reduction. Here Cl is changing into Cl negative. We know that whenever an atom changes into an anion, that means it is gaining electrons. Again, it is reduction. in last, it is Sn2 positive. That is, initially it has lost 2 electrons. Now it is Sn4 positive. Now it has lost 2 more. Losing electron is not reduction. So that means this is not a reduction. It is a oxidation. Another question we have is, oxidation is also termed as electronation, de-electronation, we have protonation and deprotonation. So oxidation referred to as de-electronation, that is, it is giving its electron. It is giving its electron, because electronation is adding of electron, de-electronation is removal of electron, protonation is addition of proton, and deprotonation is removal of this proton. So here the oxidation refers to electronation. So electronation is the correct option. In the given reaction, which is reducing agent. So let's compare left with the right hand side. This is P4 and here it is changing to PH3. That means hydrogen is added. Let's compare the other compound H2P2O2. That means to phosphorus oxygen is also being added. So at the same time hydrogen is added and at the same time oxygen is added. So we can have such reaction also in which the same substance is getting oxidized as well as getting reduced. So this reaction is called as disproportionate reaction. And in this case, the reducing agent is phosphorus, even the oxidizing agent is phosphorus. So last question we have, define disproportionate reaction. Disproportionate reaction is a reaction in which the same substance undergoes the oxidation and the same substance undergoes the reduction as well. So at the same time, a similar substance is undergoing oxidation and under a similar condition it is getting reduced. Like in the previous question we saw that phosphorus was undergoing a disproportionate reaction because it was undergoing oxidation also and it was undergoing a reduction also. So I think you got it. Thank you for watching this video, and for more learning please visit to www.wasarax.com. So with this, we finish part 1. And I think you have understood now that what is actually the redox reaction, what are its types, and how oxidation and reduction or oxidizing and reducing agent can be clearly made out by using the classical and the electronic concept. So rest we'll study in part 2.